from the West Coast to the East Coast, it was just different. You know, we came and we were climbing a ton at gyms on the West Coast and really enjoying our experience there because there were, you know, multiple options under one roof. And then we came here and there just wasn't a gym like that in the area. And there's always rumors in this area of, oh, someone's starting a gym. And, you know, we probably lived here for 3 years and no one ever made one. So we were like, okay, well, what would it look like if we were to do something like that?
We had talked about kind of wanting to have a business of some sort, started kind of working a business plan on what a climbing gym in Norfolk would look like. And we decided, kind of based on the skill sets of all of us, we could make it work while we kind of all maintained our regular jobs. We had partnered with Vertical Solutions as well at that point. So the wall construction process took about 2 months once they got here. And once that was done, we opened about 2 weeks later. So.
We have the best community of members. You can see it anytime you walk into the gym. You know, people just, they love this place. We love having it be a place where people can come and feel that way. So it's been extraordinary.
I guess you introduced me to climbing in 2014.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a friend on our team that climbed. And I was like, oh, interesting, like, let's try this. And our coach used to yell at us and be like, no, you can't do that. Like, you're going to hurt yourselves. And we were like, yeah, probably, but we're going to do it anyway. And, yeah, our teammate, like, really loved the outdoors and climbing. And so I ended up starting climbing at VBRG and, like, up at Manchester Wall in Richmond. I was like, what, like, this is sweet. And then as Van and I became friends over, like, the next year, I was like, hey, like, you should try this. I think you'd really like it. So we took him to VBRG, and then obviously both kind of like got hooked from there. But
I kind of scouted it out, you know, because I was climbing pretty religiously. Came over here once or twice and was just like, wow, you can totally get so strong here. Like,
and the people that came here too.
Yeah, and so, well, like, I think initially, like, we were pretty decided, like, on just, like, the quality of, like, the facility here and, like, the quality of routes and stuff. You know, that was really what drew me here at first. But then now I'm like, all right, I'm staying here because everybody's really cool. You know, now it's more about the community than like the climbing, essentially.
Because we really like rope climbing more than bouldering, but this has definitely like changed our perspective on that too.
Whether it's bouldering, sport, or trad, like, you eventually run into familiar faces of these people that you get to know really well, and you all enjoy the same pursuit and the struggle. You know, I think that was what keeps everybody together, you know, as like we're all enjoying this struggle that we call climbing. That's awesome. It's an awesome thing to do.
Come on, man. Come on.
I think it's really just more of like the community than what we do. You know, like, climbing rocks is awesome. It's liberating, but I think like the people you do it with are really what's like makes rock climbing. So.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of a hard definition, but like, yeah, I think kind of we're talking about like how climbing changes in your mind over time. And I think initially someone asked me the other day and they're like, why is climbing appealing? And I was like, you know, like, I don't really think it is. I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, I don't really know what's appealing about it, but you fall into a community with like similarly minded people that are so different from you. And that I think is really what keeps you, kind of like Van said. But I think more than just the physical pursuit, which is always like endearing to people who like to torture themselves in a way. It's like when you're on the wall, especially outside, it's such a like a mental and emotional release as well, because really when you're climbing, especially outside, the only thing you think about is what you're doing, because it's like a forced meditation, you know. And especially outside, like really all you're thinking about is climbing.
The first time I got into climbing was my junior year of high school. We had like an outdoor venture program in like its infancy stages there, but that's when I first got introduced. Then I dropped it though for a year. My senior year I focused on football and other sports, and then I picked it back up my freshman year of college, and I was climbing at VBRG at the time. When it came to sports in high school, I played football, played baseball, ran track, I wrestled as well for a season. But as to contributing to my rock climbing, like me getting into rock climbing, I have to say none. I think that's the reason why I was drawn to rock climbing, because it was so unlike any other sport that I've been playing at the time. Climbing for me is something that I've always used as like kind of like my safe place. Whenever I come to climb, it's a time and a place where anything that's going on that's crappy in my day, I leave it at the door. When I come in here, it's good vibes only. It's also been something that's kept me grounded in a lot of ways. Climbing is a very, very, very humbling sport. Not only are you constantly being faced with failure whenever you don't get a route or you don't flash a red pointer route, but there's always somebody else around you in the gym who's crushing harder than you are. So it really forces you to kind of like take a step back, be like, all right, like maybe I shouldn't be so cocky. Keeps you grounded. And then also, climbing is something that's it's given me a lot of freedom to try new things and face fears that I've always like kept dormant inside me, whether it's pushing myself to new heights, literally climbing outside, like climbing a 120-foot route, something I never thought I would ever do climbing, or bouldering over rocks with like crash pads still there but not exactly a safe fall zone, or pushing myself to try and succeed in front of others in a climate where it's competitive in competitions, or even outside when climbing in front of a whole bunch of friends. Climbing is something to me that has greatly influenced who I am as a person in my life.
So climbing gyms are different today than they were maybe 10 or however many years ago, mainly because of the offerings. We have, of course, rock climbing, we have bouldering, we have fitness, high intensity interval classes, yoga classes, and then we're just a full-scale facility. You know, when we made this gym and we were developing the concept of it, we talked with Vertical Solutions about the idea of a third space where they can just come to, you know, when they're not at home or at work. So we wanted to make this area as comfortable as possible, you know, just kind of make it a fun area for people to hang out. So
the organization is kind of one piece that's changed. The safety is another aspect that's changed. And then on top of all that, you've seen a huge transition in aesthetics from climbing walls looking like natural rock with gray dingy holds on them to these high contrast spaces that are extremely pleasant to be in, open, airy feeling. And that's something we took a huge cue off of with this space.
I moved to this area about a year and a half ago, so summer of 2019. I finally came to Latitude 6 months after I moved here, but I knew about Latitude within the first week of moving here, and I really wanted to come try it, but I was too scared to come try a new climbing gym. No reason other than my own personal fears. The community here at Latitude has been nothing but welcoming and helpful, especially since I had a little sabbatical from climbing. Me and my friends actually joined, and we all joined together and expected to kind of only stick together when we were in the climbing gym bouldering, but we found that everyone wanted to interact with us, and interacting in the community just made it an even more enjoyable experience here. Oh, I've been climbing since, I wouldn't say it was an option, it was an involuntary entering the climbing world. My dad was a climber, and I went climbing a lot with him when I was really young. And then I returned to it when I was in college, 10 years ago. Climbing to me is an outlet of both physical expression and mental processing. I have a lot of stressful aspects of my life being a graduate student, and I found that as I get older, the answer is not to Netflix and chill for me, to kind of deal with that stress, but more challenge myself physically and mentally. And the problem-solving process of climbing combined with the physical demands of it has been really beneficial to my stress management as a student and just as a person. And Latitude has been the perfect conduit for that.
All right, so I kind of come from like a family of rock climbers. My dad was a climber and he was super into it. That's kind of how I got started. And he was actually introduced to climbing by my grandpa on my mom's side. So like a bunch of my uncles and stuff rock climbed too. Yeah, so, and actually we had like bouldering walls in my home growing up and stuff. In high school, I had this like 45-degree like splash wall over my bed. So I used to climb on that all the time, so that was pretty sick. But I was like not good at climbing at all until adult life in the last couple of years when I like started taking it seriously. I'd quit climbing for a long time and just wanted to like pick up a new hobby. I started climbing at VBRG about 5 years ago. I think it was like 2014. And just instantly became obsessed with it. I was there like, 3-4 days a week, every week. Met a whole bunch of the people that climb here now at VBRG. And then there were rumors that there was a new gym that was going to open. And then, and I used to climb with Jason. We realized like, oh shoot, this is the guy opening it. And we started talking to him and he's going to be a new gym. It's going to be sick in Norfolk. And we were all super excited. And basically day one, like everybody just migrated to this gym and like you saw everybody here that used to climb at VBRG. Rock climbing means a lot to me. It's how I spend most of my time. It's my main hobby. It's how I stay physically fit, shredded. It's a lot of my personal goals revolve around climbing. And I met a lot of my good friends by climbing. And I guess it's a great way to get outside and experience nature on the weekends and see a lot of places I probably would have never gone. I definitely prefer climbing outside to climbing inside. I feel like climbing outside is the main event, and all this climbing inside is just kind of training for the main event. And I love climbing in the gym, and it's my routine, my weekly routine. I'm in here like 3-4 days a week, and I love it, but it really does feel like I do this so that I can climb well outside.
Come on, Mark. Come on. Good. Come on, Mark. Yeah, dude. Holy shit. Woo-hoo! You're good, man. Yep. You're good. You're on junk. Yeah. Woo-hoo!
It's really clear that rock climbing is becoming more and more popular because of how enjoyable a sport it is. I'd recommend getting into rock climbing because it's a really fun way to stay fit, and it's a really great way to meet other people in the community. When you're on the wall, you're looking at it and you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I make it to this hold? It's a really fun, dynamic way for the mind and the body to come together on problem solving and, physical ability. A lot of people report that they feel more mentally clear. And there's a lot of studies going on right now about linking it to reducing anxiety, helping with depression, things like that.
So when I was in middle school, I became very fixated on food and aerobic sports and weight-related goals and ideals. And that really drove a lot of what I did all the way up until, fast forward, I'm in grad school in my mid-20s. I realized that something needed to change because my lifestyle was not sustainable. And climbing is something that I really diverted my attentions to that really helped. Climbing facilitated that change, essentially. So I got into rock climbing when I was in grad school in Kentucky. I wasn't very strong. Cardio was kind of my main thing. And I wanted to try something different that really pushed me to be stronger. Something that required me to work on upper body strength. I think a lot of things that aren't typically associated with females a lot of the time. And rock climbing, being so close to the red, I very quickly got drawn into that. And I just really, really took off with the climbing. So the community here at Latitude is awesome. It's unlike any other gym I've ever been a member to. I mean, it's just super supportive. You come in here, I come in here, and immediately when I walk in, there's always someone there that I know or who I can go up to and talk to right away. And everyone's super friendly and supportive, even when I'm meeting new people, always helping each other out. And honestly, half the time I'll come in here, and about half the time I'm here, I spend talking. Sometimes I'll climb for an hour and play ping pong for 2 or 3 hours. It's just a really laid back, really supportive, friendly, open community.
So I was born in Virginia Beach, raised in Virginia Beach. Before climbing, I was an organized sports guy, so I played baseball pretty much growing up until I was 21, and then kind of fell out of fitness in general. From that point, I discovered climbing from a friend in 2015 and gave it a shot, and instantly fell in love at that point. Just being in nature and having the sounds and just the feel of the rock was amazing. I was at a point in my life before I found climbing where not a lot was making sense. Climbing brought me back into reality a little bit. It brought me back into health, fitness, being more self-focused and just not focused on external things. I think I would describe it as a synergistic combination of flow and strength, maybe balance and strength. Just an overall, you just get into this rhythm where, it's focused on movement, it's very strategic, and it can be very detailed, intricate body positions. And it just feels good to kind of use your body and discover, movement all over again. The community at Latitude is probably the best, or one of the best communities I've ever been a part of as far as climbing. Everyone's pretty steady climbing together, and I think that's what has bonded and created all these relationships that we have here. And it's also how it's why it feels so welcoming.
Rock climbing to me means being present in the moment. I think in life, a lot of the time we can get sidetracked and lose focus of the present moment, thinking about the past and the future. But in that moment when you're on a climb, nothing else matters. It's you, either the route inside or the rock outside. It's that feeling of being one with what you're doing and not having any thoughts block out what you're trying to do. One of the reasons I love it so much is that it combines the mental aspect of problem solving with the physical aspect of how am I going to make this move work, or how is this sequence going to flow. And climbing is just getting back to nature. I mean, it's natural movement, it's primal movement, it's flow. And that's one of the most beautiful things to me about it, is how you figure out how to use your body in the most efficient way to do something. I think commitment is another aspect of that that's huge. A lot of people, a lot of climbers will joke about having commitment issues, you know what I mean? But in reality, if you're gonna do this, you might have commitment issues with staying in one place, but we are committed to the sport, and Yeah.
Love was holding all the cards and always kept me in the dark. I never thought I could shake this heartache until I saw your light, and it's got me feeling like life is good, yeah. Life is good, yeah. Yeah, in my darkest times, you got me feeling like I've been walking on air. Left all my worries and cares. I've got no burdens around you. I don't care who knows I love you. 'Cause I've been so lost without you. And in my darkest times, you got me feeling like life is good, yeah. Life is good, yeah. Yeah, in my darkest times, you got me feeling like
To me, being in the sport that tends to be a little bit more dominated by guys, I definitely don't see that as like a deterrent or anything that bothers me at all, really. I think it's just, get more so about getting the word out to encourage more females to come. Because I think the misconception is that climbing is exclusively about strength, and females have a lot of flexibility, a lot of grace, a lot of technique, and a lot of times that is what makes a good climber. Just keep trying to get more females in here because women rock. They kill it at climbing. So
One of my fondest memories of Latitude was when I walked in and there were clearly a whole bunch of meathead military guys like trying to climb some route. And I remember this one girl just walks up, and they were out there projecting, and just flashed it. And the look of like pure, just like awe on these guys' face was amazing. And it just goes to show that like climbing is such a level playing field. And it doesn't matter what gender you are, you can still kick ass and take names. Perfect.